right, good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m. We're going to ask everyone to please take your seats. Today is Thursday, July 30th. This is a joint meeting of the Climate Change and Sustainability Committee, as well as Public Works, Sanitation, and the Environment. Can we please call the roll?
Councilmember Green, present. Councilmember Hughes, present. Councilmember Morell, present. Councilmember Willard, present. Councilmember McCarron, present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Director Spears. Agenda item number 2, approval of the minutes, June 30th, 2026 meeting of the Climate Change and Sustainability Committee, as well as Public Works, Sanitation, and the Environment. Moved by Chairwoman McCarron, second by President Morell. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? 5 yeas, no nays, and that motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is we will jump to agenda item number 8, and then we will resume regular order of the agenda, going back to agenda item number 3. So resolution item number 8, resolution city infrastructure project list. I think we have Director Nelson and members of the administration here for their presentation.
Thank you all very much. Steve Nelson,
Director.
Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Infrastructure and Director of Public Works. Thank you very much for having me up here first. The proposal in this resolution before you all today is a key measure to ensuring that we are fiscally stable. This is the deferral or the delay of a number of projects across all council districts and combined savings on bond-funded projects so that we can reallocate $35 million from 2026 bonds, convert that to cash, and allow those projects will move forward. We will have another sale in 2028, but this is part of the challenging reality that we face in order to meet our general fund obligations. We've gone through that list of projects. There are a list of projects that are ongoing that are attached to this motion. And again, this is very important to be able to pass this resolution so that we can continue to meet our cash obligations. With that, I would entertain any questions that there are.
Thank you very much, Director Nelson. A couple things just so we can be clear to the public. The projects outlined in this list, just to be crystal clear, these are just delays.
These are delays. We are not canceling projects. It's still painful. I do want to be transparent. This isn't a zero-sum situation. It is not easy. Some of these projects we've been waiting on for many years, but these are delays. We are not cutting or canceling projects.
Thank you very much, Director. And then number 2, just for the public's benefit, this is spread out across all council districts.
It is across all council districts. We've worked very hard to be equitable. I very much appreciate you and everyone else on this dais and with all council districts and working together with us to ensure that that is an even spread.
Thank you. And that's just the third point I wanted to get on the record. The administration had very clear and robust communication with all members of the council throughout this process.
Thank you, sir, and really appreciate you and your staff and everyone else involved. As another note on the aside, I understand with delays, that is not easy. We are continuing to increase staff. I do really want to see our average wait times get down to 30 days. Averages of 200, 300 days are not acceptable. And we are working internally in addition to these bond-funded projects to make that happen.
Thank you, Director. With that, look, I will echo your sentiments. Delays are nothing that anybody is thrilled about. But what we can reiterate to the public is that this is one key step in a much larger piece of the puzzle to ensure that we protect critical services and throughout city government. So,
yes, sir.
With that, any comments or questions from Director Spears?
Councilmember, there's one online comment.
Okay. Go ahead. You can read it.
The comment is from Deborah Campbell. She says, include sirens as a funded priority for New Orleans. And those are all of the online comments for the meeting.
Thank you very much. The board is clear.
I'll move.
Moved by President Morell, second by Councilmember Green. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? 5 yeas, no nays, and that motion carries. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
All right, we will now resume regular order. Agenda item number 3, Chairwoman McCarron.
Thank you, members, and thank you everybody for being here. Today we are making history. Today we are the first council and administration to take on the challenge of reforming Sewage and Water Board. The current governing structure is a systematic failure. As a district council member, it is astonishing how many of my interactions with residents involve Sewage and Water Board. This is rarely just one issue with one simple fix: water leaks, pavement cuts that have been open for months, bills in the thousands, endless construction, pump issues, drainage issues, flooding. The issues are cascading. And until now, the people you voiced your issues to did not have power or oversight to do much about it. No power to review and approve budgets, no power to prioritize projects based on community needs and input, and no power to make sure simple issues are resolved quickly and your quality of life is improved. But today, this legislation creates the framework to create a better utility for the people of New Orleans. It is what residents deserve and what has been missing for decades. I want to be clear about a few things here. This legislation is not a punishment. It is not an indictment of any one person or any singular policy. This is about making sense out of the current governance structure of the Sewage and Water Board. I also want to be extraordinarily clear that this is not an indictment of the hardworking men and women who are public servants who do the difficult work to keep our systems running and our water safe to drink. We see you, we thank you, and we are still going to need you. Lastly, I want to be clear that this is not a magic button we press when this legislation is enacted. Things did not get this way overnight and won't be fixed overnight. This will take hard work and dedication from this council, this administration, and the real partnership with Sewage and Water Board to ensure that we get this right. And I know we are all up for the challenge. I want to thank Councilmember Hughes for his partnership with me on pumps and our fellow colleagues for trusting in us to lead and advise on this important work. I want to thank Mayor Moreno and her team, especially Leo John and Andrew, for leading us through this process, as well as Steve Nelson with DPW, who is taking on additional challenges with this work. To the rest of our pumps working group, including Aaron Spears, our Director of Council Utilities, and of course, Sewage and Water Board, thank you for your continued input and advice, and we are not done yet. Last but not least, I want to thank our staff working diligently behind the scenes to make all of this happen. So with that, I know that we have a presentation. If anybody else from the dais would like to make comments now or after, let me know.
I would just like to have my name added to the resolution.
Will do. All right, so with that, I'll ask Andrew and Leo John to come up and make their presentation, and they will go through what we're voting on today.
Adding name.
Councilmember Green, for the record, would like his name added as well.
Council members, because this ordinance has already been introduced, actions to add names will have to be done during next week's council meeting, but noted.
Floor is yours.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chairman McCarron, Chairman Hughes. Thank you for having us today. Appreciate the members of the council and their patience. My name is Andrew Tizzolo. I serve as special counsel to Mayor Helena Moreno. To my left is LJ Arnett, who is our Director of Policy and Research. Since June 2nd, and certainly since the spring, the mayor's team, in collaboration with the council, has been working to build a toolbox of tools to reform the Sewage and Water Board, starting with the mayor's call during the legislative session to help pass Representative Hilfridy's bill that created the opportunity to do this type of reform. Upon successful passage of that, the mayor put an executive order out there to create the pumps subgroup, the name created by Adam Swenzik, for the record, so for all those who like comedy and acronyms. The pump subgroup is a group of community, city staff, and of course, as Councilmember McCarron noted, 2 council members who have worked together since June 2nd to build a framework for regulation and reform of Sewage and Water Board, a framework to put the community back in charge of Sewage and Water Board, and to smooth out some of the rough parts we've had for years and years in operating and managing and maintaining our critical infrastructure, including drainage and water. Thanks to the work of this group, which has some wonderful people on there. I'm not going to name them all, but I want to thank certainly the community members, Dr. Chalk, Bo Jones from the Water Institute, a group of folks that came from all different walks of life to advise and input, and we put together, I think, a really helpful, I hope, framework for the council to work from. I especially want to thank the council's utility regulation office and an excellent public servant, Erin Spears, who helped draft this and put this together. She put the pen to paper, and that's what makes it work. So I want to thank Erin, and of course our executive counsel, Adam Swenzik, as well. So let me go through it. I'm going to try to move as quickly as possible to preserve your time, but if anybody has any questions during the way, I'm happy to take any questions along the way. So once again, the mayor created the pump subgroup. It's a subgroup of the ICC, another group that she created to help coordinate infrastructure construction in the city of New Orleans. One of the things she said when she was running for office was that the people of New Orleans simply weren't getting the services they deserve because of how discombobulated everything can be, and she needed greater coordination and urgency. That's what the ICC was meant to create, and I think it's done great work there, bringing what she called Super Bowl level services to the city of New Orleans. We're still working on that, but I think we've made a lot of progress. What we did was we created a subgroup of that called Pumps. And the intention here, of course, as we mentioned, was to build a regulatory and reform framework for the city council to take over most of the key direction and operational choices of the Sewage and Water Board. Created that group. That group is made up of community members and staffers, and of course the city council members, the climate chair, Councilmember Karen, and Councilmember Hughes, the chair of Public Works. I'm going to go through the ordinance now. The ordinance, of course, is the key piece of legislation that will create that framework for the council to work from. It addresses some of the major challenges we've faced, which is having a volunteer unelected board manage the Sewage and Water Board with unclear levels of authority and lines of communication. We've seen numerous examples going back years and years and years of the Sewage and Water Board attempting but not quite making it for the community, making things work for the community. We have too many sort of crises that emanate from that, and I think all of us want to see this work efficiently, effectively. Again, these are critical infrastructure operations. We don't pump the city out of water. We don't keep the clean water coming through the pipes. We can't have a city. So these are some of the most important things that happen in the city. We need to have clear communication, clear authority, and that's what this ordinance intends to do. So under this ordinance, the city council is granted, through the power of the state law we passed, the city council is granted the oversight and the approval of various pieces of the Sewage and Water Board's operations, most importantly, those regarding the budget and regarding its capital improvement plan. Of course, rate setting is already in the city charter. That doesn't change, but we also moved some of the contracting pieces into the city council's oversight. These are not all the contracts of the Sewage and Water Board, but key contracts that include those regarding professional services, government relations, communications, of course, lobbying, things that the city council might want to have a look at and that the public should have further transparency around. It's important to note that also the executive director of the Sewage and Water Board by state law is chosen by the board. The board chooses the executive director. This new law creates an opportunity for the city council to have a public opportunity to vet executive directors and general superintendents, also for their contract extensions. You'll see in the amendments that we are proposing as well. This is important for transparency and aligns with the city council's move to bring all of our 13 directors under the charter into the confirmation process. Very similarly, we'll bring the director of Sewage and Water Board, the key executive of Sewage and Water Board, to the city council for public transparency and exposition about their role. Why is it important to put the city council in charge of the Sewage and Water Board? I think pretty much everybody in this room and people across this city have read the innumerous reports about reforming the Sewage and Water Board. The fun part is that we've tried to reform the Sewage and Water Board through state action for dozens of years now. The board of the Sewage and Water Board has changed probably about 3 to 4 times since I've been working in government for the last 20 years. And each one of those changes has been met with another report saying that those changes didn't quite work and we should make more changes. So what we've done is we created the most direct line of authority between the people and the Sewage and Water Board by putting their elected representatives in charge of the major elements of the Sewage and Water Board. And those elected representatives, of course, are seated in front of me, and of course, in collaboration with the mayor. I'm going to quickly go through this, but as I mentioned before, the Sewage and Water Board operating and capital budgets, the improvement plans, the rates, fees, the debt issuance, professional service contracts, executive leadership, confirmation, and employment contracts, all will be subject to council oversight, amendment, review, and approval. Because the city charter continues to have the members of the Sewage and Water Board within its text, we are not changing the composition of the Sewage and Water Board, but we are retasking the Sewage and Water Board's board to deal with day-to-day operations, also creating a direct line of authority to the mayor, with the mayor appointing 7 citizen representatives. 2 of the Board of Liquidation, Board of Lic members will still be appointed by the Board of Lic, and of course the mayor or her designee. The mayor will not serve as the chair of the Sewage and Water Board anymore. It will elect its own chair. The board will still maintain some operational control at the day-to-day level. The City Council is a very busy body. You guys have lots to do. It's not going to be a day-to-day the City Council sitting at the Sewage and Water Board, but rather that the board will make day-to-day minor decisions, but the major decisions, the strategic decisions, the decisions that affect people's days and their ways of life will be made right here in the City Council chamber in public. I mentioned the board composition. It is the mayor's intention to seek within the next year a vote of the people to change the composition of the Sewage and Water Board, which requires a change to the city charter, which is an election by the people. That's for the future. For now, the mayor will appoint the 7 citizens that serve, and of course, as I mentioned, the Board of Lic members and the mayoral designee. Of course, the Public Works Chair also has still has an appointment on the Sewage and Water Board. All of those appointments will be made next week. Council President Morrell will be holding a Government Affairs Committee to introduce new Sewage and Water Board members. Those will be public next week. The mayor is making appointments. There is some continuity in those membership, but there are also some new people. And so we're proud to announce those people next week. Moving on, I want to move quickly through the Board of Directors piece because I think we've all spoken about this. Another great area of concern, we've had multiple council meetings about this, is the Sewage and Water Board's ability to communicate emergencies effectively and to the right parties. There's been a long-term issue with information coming out of the Sewage and Water Board and getting to the public effectively and accurately. It's not any one person's fault, but we're trying to streamline that communication. One of the ways in which we believe that the city government can act most effectively here is to integrate emergency communications with the city's effective NOLA-ready operations and cease having 2 separate lines of communication. I think that would help everybody. We've also put in the law, and I know the council is interested in this, to make sure that council members are apprised of critical information at the earliest possible moment. I know each of you have probably dealt with a situation, and certainly in this chamber, dealt with a situation where pieces of information about your district or potentially about the whole city were not provided to you timely, and it created confusion, and often residents were not sure what was going on, and later explanations were necessary. So with this law, we're creating clear lines of communications and protocols so that you are informed about the important issues that you need so that you can get your information out to your constituents. Again, another piece of standardization of protocol will be that the City Council will receive an emergency operations plan on an annual basis from the Sewage and Water Board. Typically, the city presents an emergency hurricane season presentation here at the City Council every May or June. Entergy does the same, Delta does the same. Now, Sewage and Water Board will be required to present their emergency plan each year so the City Council and the public know what should be happening in an emergency, what information should be shared, and how to get it. Another key issue that has been a long-term issue with the Sewage and Water Board is there's no clear repository of information about the Sewage and Water Board. Reports that are required are not easy to find. There are no clear databases where you would find reports about storms, about pumping. There are certain websites on Sewage and Water Board that provide some of this information, but there's no historical or categorical place. We're hoping that through this new ordinance and framework, there will be a single repository for this information, and that clear reporting protocols are created so that the council can expect certain information at certain times, so that can all be cataloged and databased so that all of you have an opportunity to look contextually at the work of the Sewage and Water Board, so that there isn't everything is a critical or urgent incident. Often we forget, history forgets very quickly about what just happened a year or 2 years ago, and with that context, we can be more effective in managing this organization. Another great piece that I think this ordinance creates and aligns with the city's existing operations is a public budget presentation. Because we're on a constrained timeline this year, we're going to ask that presentation be done on a expedited fashion, with those submissions being done in November and by December. That aligns with Sewage and Water Board's current operational budget plan. In the future, we intend to back that up just as we do with the city's budget and start that process earlier, so there is a public exposition so that the public community groups can come here, learn about the Sewage and Water Board's operational budgets and capital budgets and priorities, and that the city's council can oversee and amend and provide community input on all of those issues. Every one of those pieces is critical, and it's important that we note that the Sewage and Water is obviously grossly underfunded, and that when we have a capital plan that creates an entire set of projects that are all urgent, none of which are funded, it makes the public confused about what the plan is and what the strategy is. And one of the challenges we have is because it's so opaque, we have no idea what is really going on and what's part of the plan and what's not. The other issue that we've also faced, and the City Council previously has worked on this, is that because Sewage and Water Board has not been able to receive enough funding from state, federal, and local resources, they've been unable to execute on key projects, including, of course, the power complex. Thanks to the City Council helped step in and fund the power complex when they were unable to find money for that. This was done on an expedited basis and almost on an emergency case, and that shouldn't be the way we plan strategically for capital improvements. This process will create greater strategy and vision around those capital improvements and allow the city's representatives to have input about their neighborhood projects, what projects are working, what construction isn't getting done, why certain projects are taking too long, and we can get greater insight, oversight, and accountability on those issues. Mentioned the capital improvement plan. I think it is good to note that we intend to have a short and medium term forecast from the Sewage and Water Board, so you can plan not just on an annual basis, but many of Sewage and Water Board's biggest projects take many years to come to fruition. We know that that is typical of most of these large critical infrastructure projects, and we need to have vision on that and strategy that doesn't just last on an annual basis, but on a multi-year basis. I will mention that the City of New Orleans has a capital improvement plan process, which works pretty well, as the Coastal Authority here in Louisiana has a long-term capital project. All of these are models that the Sewage and Water Boards should be emulated, and we intend to help emulate through the City Council process. I'm reaching the end here, so I'm going to pause for a moment to see if there are any questions. I went kind of quickly, trying to make sure you all had time to speak. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Again, LJ and I have served as staff on the PUMS group. We've been happy to work with Council Members McCarran and Hughes on this. And of course, this is a product of the City Council. We do have an amendment that we're requesting just to make some clarifications that is sponsored by 4 council members. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions on issues and details, and certainly for the public.
Thank you. I have one question,
yes, sir.
Madam Chair. Just for the public's benefit, did Sewage and Water Board have representation on the Pumps Committee?
Yes, sir. It's a great question. So one of the members of the pumps group was Caitlin Timarek, who's the general superintendent of the Sewage and Water Board. And in as well, we also had former board members serving on the pumps working group as well. So we were blessed to have a group of folks who had great knowledge and direct insight. Caitlin was a wonderful member and collaborator on this process.
So just in full transparency to the public, this pumps working group, as created by the mayor's executive order, this was not just a committee of the administration or elected bureaucrats. We had Sewage and Water Board at the table. We had everyday citizens at the table, had the business community at the table. So we had a large representation of the users of the system and the city of New Orleans. Would that be a fair assessment?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Once again, Granicus does not work, so I'd like to make some comments, though I can't press the button to say that.
Go ahead.
Appreciate it. Andrew, it's been years, and Granicus never seems to work.
That's
We
amazing.
need lots of money.
We need a form of that.
Couple of questions. First up, I appreciate your slide that you had on emergency notifications. I will tell you that a complaint we commonly get from constituents is that the existing efforts to provide emergency notifications that Sewage and Water Board does independent of the city are confusing, not clear, and often duplicative of the city's existing efforts. I know you mentioned how the city will essentially fold them into NOLA Ready, but I want to be very clear that the goal is for the public to receive appropriate notifications in the vehicles they're accustomed to and to streamline Sewage and Water Board communication. I think that from our perspective as a council, talking to my colleagues, and I know you've heard this repeatedly, and I know the mayor's expressed it as well, the goal is really to view the Sewage and Water Board as a city department.
That's right.
And since we have centralized communication that people have already signed up to, like NOLA Ready, is it your intention, is the intention of this ordinance to not suggest but mandate that Sewage and Water Board use our existing channels rather than A, duplicate them badly, and B, waste money on duplicating them badly?
I think that's exactly right, sir. And I think you've seen there are many opportunities for operational efficiencies. The number one, most important one is to create a sole trusted source for communication. These are critical notifications, and having confusing notifications out there about flooding possibilities, about water quality, about water being out is it's being done in a haphazard way at this juncture, and we believe to streamline that is critical. The mayor's been very clear that she'd like to see one sort of conveyance for all that communication, and NOLA Ready has been very effective. I think residents I think they trust it. They should. It does a really good job. It's run here at the city. There's no reason to have two different sort of communications. It's both confusing, and in some cases it can be worse than confusing. So I think it's a critical piece of this reform effort is to streamline that and put it in one lane. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and regarding your slide regarding emergency preparedness, I will tell you that a complaint that we've gotten particularly during the storm season is that it appears that when we have these catastrophic events at Sewage and Water Board, whether it was the power tripping repeatedly, whether it was human error with the pumps and operations, the question we get from constituents repeatedly is, do they do dry runs before hurricane season to make sure all this equipment actually is operating properly, the people manning it are trained properly? And the suggestion I would make, it's not codified yet, but I think we can do it through the board, is you need to publicize proactive efforts. Like, if you've noticed across the world, when you have these kind of annual incidents, like we have hurricane season in the city of New Orleans, everyone knows it. That is the time we expect Sewage and Water Board to be at its A game. That's when the football season starts, whatever analogy you want to use. It would make sense that we create an annual process where Sewage and Water Board publicizes before hurricane season, we're testing the pumps, we're testing the station, we're going to do load bearance on the pumps to make on the power station to make sure that everything's working properly. Hey, public, you may notice a drop in water pressure here. We're testing the pumps before hurricane season, because I think part of having this ordinance, part of us rebuilding public confidence is showing intentionality and proactive efforts to solve problems rather than react to them.
That's right. And restoring confidence, as you said, is one of the most critical pieces, not just in emergency preparedness, but across the Sewage and Water Board's operations. But to that point, as you all know, NOSEM runs tabletop operations prior to hurricane season. Sewage and Water Board participates in that, but playing a larger role and an integrated role with our existing tabletops is incredibly important. I hope that that is the case. I intend for that to be the case so that we see the public understanding some of the preparations being done prior to these hurricane seasons. Yes.
And my last question with CIP. I heard just now from your presentation, what you're trying to do is to have them mirror our CIP process. I would encourage you to just fold them into our CIP process. And I say that because a lot of what we've seen, in my estimation, as to why the organization has gotten so bloated is that we have too many duplicative processes. If we have people already inside city government, people who have years of experience in creating capital improvement programs that are transparent, that the public can follow, that the council can understand as we do our consideration as how we're going to do capital funding, it doesn't make sense to teach Sewage and Water Board how to do it. It makes sense to have us just do it and then provide the information and follow our CIP process, just because I really do not want to, in the process of doing all these changes, create more bureaucracy. I want to streamline it. And like I said, my goal has been unabashedly throughout this to treat Sewage and Water Board as a department. As such, anything that is superfluous, I really would prefer that we kind of axe out in this process.
I think that's exactly right. I think one of the things that you mentioned in terms of integration fits in the overall package of making Sewage and Water Board act more like a city department. And that is exactly right. We need to have because LJ and I discuss all the time, there are many infrastructure projects, green infrastructure projects that Sewage and Water Board is a participant in, so is the city of New Orleans. And so we're already participating and aligned on some of these projects, but they're coming from completely different processes. And we need to make that a single process. Exactly. I agree with you, sir.
Councilmember, I just want to draw your attention. Thanks to Leo, John, and Adam, the process that is outlined in this ordinance largely reflects what the city does in its capital improvement plan process. Additionally, it requires coordination between the departments, as Andrew mentioned, to ensure that there is alignment across the board. And you'll see that beginning next year with the public engagement process and the coordination between the city departments as well.
Yeah, I understand that, but I kind of want to go a step further. I don't want them to mirror it. I want them to provide the information in the city. Just do it. Because whenever we say mirror a process, there's kind of the idea that there'll be two parallel groups that are trying to communicate and copy each other. My preference is that there's one group doing it for both parties so that it is exactly the same. Because at the end of the day, I guess as a utility regulator, looking at Delta, looking at energy, every time they want to do something, we look at how is this going to impact cost to ratepayers. As we tried to look at Sewage and Water Board as this hybrid department SAS utility, every cost Sewage and Water Board has is less money. Any cost for C-suite or individuals, especially at that C-suite executive level, that's money not going towards the system. It's the same pot of money. Yeah. And so anything we can do to streamline, and to Amy's earlier point, we're not talking about the guys who are literally drilling holes to fix pipes. We're talking about looking throughout the system from the top all the way to the bottom to see where there's duplication. We can take existing money within Sewage and Water Board and repurpose it for Sewage and Water Board. So that was simply my point. I think we're on the same page. I just want to make sure we're going as far as possible to streamline Sewage and Water Board.
Yes, sir.
And Councilmember, really fast, Council President, on the presentation, we also mentioned that there are going to be new revenues that we're working on, such as the parcel fee proposal. I think that your comment is really important in this time where there's going to be a revenues where we have to share for projects. And so if the process is one and we're focusing on that, it's a public and accountable strategy where we can show where those monies are going to be deployed. And so I just wanted to underscore that comment you made is exactly right, especially as this provides a framework for some of those new revenues as well.
Council Vice President Willard.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Andrew, LJ, I want to thank you for your work on the pump subgroup. Your back and forth with Council President Morrell brought up a question. Are you guys looking at, or is it part of the plan to look at different softwares, case management platforms, to see, communication, working with Department of Public Works and Sewage and Water Board? I'm wondering, I would assume that there may be some cost savings if they fold into some of our processes. And also, I would imagine it would make it more difficult if we're using different systems.
Yes. So one of the things I mentioned was operational efficiencies, and we can see from their operating budgets already that there are things that the city and Sewage and Water Board both do. We both communicate. They have a $1.7 million communications budget across the three aspects. We're going to look very carefully, and the pump subgroup's future is to look very carefully about all of those things that they already do and we do, and how we can bring those things together. Software, IT, communications. We already share a contract, a government affairs contract with them, but some of that might be duplicative. Do we need that? So there's a ton of things that they have and we have, and that by integrating, we know that we can make efficiencies and then return funds to the key operational pieces, right? Keeping the city from flooding, keeping the clean water pumping, things of that nature. That's what the Sewage and Water needs to be focused on. The other stuff, we can start taking on a greater role, but that's exactly right. So we're going to do a process by which we find out what places are areas of synergy and where we can integrate.
Okay, and I think the work order management process would be big as well, because obviously Sewage and Water Board and DPW have to work together, and if they're using the same process, the same user interface, I mean, I think it just makes more sense.
Yeah, I'll note we do have a secret weapon there, is that we have a former General Superintendent, Steve Nelson, who works around us, and so he's quite knowledgeable about Sewage and Water Board operations and happens to be sort of a key cog in the machine to bring these things together. He's very knowledgeable, and he has a great working relationship with Caitlin, with General Superintendent, and so I think we're going to have a strong partnership to build those efficiencies.
All right, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Green.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to thank you for the work that you've done, and I'd like to commend Mayor Moreno, with whom I served for the last 4 years, and with whom we worked out some issues that were important relative to the Sewage and Water Board. I know that 3 years ago, we were talking about billing issues.
Yes, sir.
How they were just an incredible impediment to doing business. And we went to the legislature and got the ability to have some input in that area, and it worked out very well. Yes, to those who still have billing issues, there may be some, but at the end of the day, I think that we all agree that there's a lot less talk about billing issues. This council also came to the rescue, if you will, or to provide money for the power station.
That's right.
The previous council. And so I just want to say that in the hands of the mayor and in the hands of our CAO, who is a member of the city council, I'm pleased to be able to be in a position where we have this enhanced authority. We have a council utilities regulatory office that works very hard, that has helped the ratepayers of our city and also has helped us to move forward in many areas that are important. So my general statement is that to members of the public, the city council has in the past proven itself, and it's got 2 former members who are in a position that will be hearing budget and capital concerns and the like. So I'm just looking forward to this, and I just want to say in a couple of words, thank you, and to Mayor Moreno for the work that has been done, and also to the legislators. It took a little bit of time to get us to this level, and there was some opposition, but the legislators who did vote to support the city council having an enhanced role, I think that you'll find that your vote was well taken.
Thank you, sir. I do want to point out that because the mayor set this out as a key priority of hers, although she didn't intend it when she was running, it became a key priority. Since that time when we put together the work at the legislature, we've been working very hard in a collaborative fashion, and I want to thank the council's help in helping pass that state legislation. Council President Morrell, I know Councilmember Hughes, Councilmember Willard, former members, helped us get along. Councilmember McCarron was there too. So I think it's really critical that we've had this collaborative partnership, and it shows how much we can accomplish when we are working in alignment. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, and I want the members of the public to know that there was a lot of work that was involved with that. We did a resolution as a council, and I talked to individual legislators saying that, yes, based on the successes that we had addressing billing issues and getting the power station built, the city council is in a position that we can enhance the operations through involvement. So
yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to working with you and with the administration and with my fellow council members, because that's such an important agency relative to the delivery of services for our citizens.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Council President Morrell.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight something you said earlier because I think it's really important, and I think it's kind of indicative of why the repeated recent legislation and why pumps is necessary. You highlighted two particular areas of expenditures that I think as a ratepayers as a whole should find particularly offensive. The fact that the Sewage and Water Board repeatedly and voraciously fought to have its own governmental representation to lobby against things the council and the city was doing, it's really breathtaking in just how disconnected it is from what ratepayers want. Like, I'll give you an example, and you know this because you were on the council when this happened. The Sewage and Water Board hired lobbyists to fight us fixing billing.
That's right.
So as residents were getting bills that were thousands of dollars off, as people were being threatened with their water being cut off, the Sewage and Water Board was using ratepayer dollars to fight the council getting control of billing to fix the billing. Just this last session, when we were doing the existing legislation to create what would be pumps in this whole process, Sewage and Water Board was complaining that they didn't have lobbyists paid for by ratepayers to protect them from us doing this. The PR piece, the amount of money that is being spent on PR is just beyond ridiculous to me. On one level, on a very basic level, just as someone who interacts with the public on a frequent basis, hiring a PR team to try and rehabilitate the Sewage and Water Board's image, rather than using that money to fix problems to make the public view you better, it just speaks to such a fundamental disconnect. So the fact that the Moreno administration's already identified those as two areas that pumps is going to target, any money not spent on stupid things is more money spent on fixing problems. And the fact that we're still having this conversation, the fact that money's still being allocated in that way, before we step in as a council, before Pump steps in to say, you can't spend money on independent lobbyists and PR anymore, tells you fundamentally why this ordinance is necessary and why the council and the mayor need to make this extraordinary step, because I will tell you that many of us know us doing this, the council and mayor working together with the governor at the time and the legislature to have this situation take place, this is done at tremendous political risk. Because the easiest thing for politicians to do is not have control over something and blame it on other people. The council and the mayor choosing to deal with Sewage and Water Board heads on means that come after August 1st, we can no longer complain that, this is not our circus, not our monkeys. At this point, we own the circus. Yeah. And we're going to own what happens after that. And we do that because we cannot do anything less at this point. Flooding and the viability of the Sewage and Water Board is an existential threat to the future of the city of New Orleans. So we do this tremendous thing. We take control of an organization that has poll numbers as low as 14% because we don't have a choice at this point. It's not something we do with great joy or zeal, taking on another responsibility with all the existing responsibilities, but at this point, there's nothing else left to do other than take this head on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, do you have any comments, Councilmember King? Okay, I know that we have one more slide to go through, and I think it's important because I think I mentioned this in my opening comments that the work of pumps and this council is not done. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to just talk about the future of pumps. And then what I'd like to do is take public comment on all of the items at one time, and then we will go through the voting items individually to vote.
Councilmember, so as Chairwoman McCarran mentions, the mayor made clear that pumps had two phases. First phase being this immediate phase to build this framework, and the second is a longer-term phase as we continue to try to integrate Sewage and Water Board into city operations. So there are a number of areas, as Council President Morell noted, that there is, and Council Vice President Willard noted, there are operational efficiency areas. I'll note that I happen to oversee the comms office here at the mayor's office, and our budget for comms to get the mayor's message out throughout the entire city is in the 5-digit range, very little, and the Sewage and Water Board spends a lot more. So I just want to point out there's a tremendous amount of efficiency, I think, that can be created through this process. So the resolution that we're requesting that y'all put forward sort of sets forward some of the pieces that pumps will be doing towards the future. And I want to give LJ an opportunity to talk through some of those future-looking areas where we're going to try to dive in on Sewage and Water Board, because this group isn't disbanding and the work certainly isn't done, as you mentioned.
Thanks, Andrew. Council members, so if you look to the slide, there are 5 parts here where Pumps is going to be tasked with looking, analyzing, and then developing recommendations for where legislative action can go in the future. So the first is, of course, the implications of further transferring, realizing efficiencies, or consolidating Sewage and Water Board functions onto the City of New Orleans, looking at some of those legal, fiscal, operational, personnel, governance, bond-related in particular, mapping that out, talking to experts to make sure we have a clear picture of the implications of these measures. The second being legal instruments themselves, so identifying and potentially drafting, whether it be charter amendments, as Andrew mentioned before, ordinances such as this ordinance coming to you today, state law changes in the future, intergovernmental agreements or other instruments needed, again, for that transfer consolidation. Looking at assets and obligations. So this is a critical piece, particular for the financials, and I understand that there is a resolution today or motion today to also look at those financials of Sewage and Water Board to better understand. But looking at the assets and liabilities, the revenues, the rates themselves, the grants, bond covenants, consent decrees, and obligations pursuant to those, and regulatory obligations, all that would need to be looked at, reviewed, and treated differently under a transfer consolidation. Performance metrics, so having Pumps look at what is successful action look like, what does success look like for not only for right now in this moment of this initial implementation, but also into the future. So whether it's oversight or reporting to the city council and to the public, performance management structures, looking at what it looks like for the city to have oversight and regulation of water, sewage, and drainage systems. And finally, providing reports, memoranda, draft language, or transition plans to either the ICC, to the mayor, to yourselves, and city council staff as requested. And I do want to note that, as we move forward, we want to be transparent in the topics that we cover and discuss in each one of these meetings. Today, you have each brought up key topics and considerations for Pumps to look into above and beyond those which were identified either in the executive order or in conversations that we've already had. And so we are first very grateful for that. We want to take those into consideration, and we'd like to continue this partnership. Special thanks to Council Members McCarran and Hughes for their participation, as well as all of you here today to listen to this presentation. We want to continue to engage the council and to work to make sure we're identifying, reviewing, and then actually acting on and delivering what the priorities that you all have. So thank you.
Thank you both. With that, any other comments from the dais? Okay.
Just to be clear, because I know you said it earlier, so we're going to go do the following ordinance and then do commentary, or are we going to do each item and then do public comment at the end?
No, I think we're going to do public comment now, and then we'll go through the items and vote.
Well, because there might be public comment on the motions and resolutions separately, so what I'm saying, either I think if we're going to vote on the ordinance and we have comments on the ordinance, I think either we're going to have to do public comment after we consider everything before the vote.
All right.
We can't do public comment before things we've considered, that's all.
Okay. So far, we just have one comment card. So. Okay. So we will take, this is on the ordinance, agenda item number 3. I have Mr. Larry Morgan.
Oh, that's my friend. I know you wanted to talk.
Good morning to everybody in the house. I'm Larry Morgan. I've been coming here for many years, mostly focusing on sewage and water board and energy. I see where the council wants to have full control of the sewage and water board. I watch the council. The council is not as professional as you think they are. The senior ones, they was the cause of the problem, and I see a percentage of them are still here, and they feed it down to the new one, and the new ones follow what they say, and the problem will always exist. Because the senior council will poison the mind of the new council, and that's why we will never have a change. But this is the point. Y'all talk about wasting money. I remember a time when Morano was president of the council. She had commissioned a person to come here to analyze the water system. This person was paid $80,000 and couldn't answer one question. But the best part about it, that person got paid. Now you talk about wasting money. Yeah, y'all wasted money. The council wasted money, and sometimes we don't know nothing about it because you know why? They know how to hide it from us. You can't trust them. The only way that we could change the system is that we got to go beyond this council that exists today. You should have them to take and get with Jefferson Parish. Look at Jefferson Parish. Jefferson Parish don't have the problems we have in having water up in the system. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
All right, Mr. Morgan. Because you know why? They know what they're doing. But these people, they're proven. All they're about is goddamn Saturday night. You've got to change these people here. If you don't.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. At this time, we're going to take up agenda item number 4, ordinance calendar 35,521. Councilmember McCarron.
I'm sorry, council members. Did we do a motion on the pumps resolution?
I'm sorry. Let's take the vote on the pumps resolution.
All motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Now agenda item number 4, Chair McCarron.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve ordinance calendar number 35,521.
Council members, there is an amendment to this ordinance.
Yes.
So as Andrew pointed out, this is a clarifying amendment, essentially. It makes clear that the mayor and the chair of the Public Works Committee have a designee on the board. It also makes clear that the council shall exercise its authority in the spaces outlined to avoid any confusion with the board's responsibilities and the council's authority. Additionally, there's just some typos that we cleaned up because we are human. Any questions on the amendment?
I'll move on the amendment.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now on the ordinance as amended.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
These will both appear on the regular agenda next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 5, Council President Morrell is recognized.
Let's see.
Thank you. Essentially, and many of you have heard my commentary on this item. My notes, one moment, I'm sorry. We are just seeking with this motion, hold on one second.
Legislative audit.
Yeah, sorry. There's a whiteout all over my tabs. All right. This deals with requesting the legislative auditor to come in and to do an audit of the Sewage and Water Board. Essentially, we want to make sure that the council and public have an independent and clear understanding of the Sewage and Water Board's finances, and we would like that audit to include assessment of existing contract, executive compensation, revenue, and debts. That's basically just trying to get a clear bill of health on Sewage and Water Board as we transition into this new process. Is there any cards? on this item?
Council members, sorry, we had 2 comment cards on the ordinance.
Okay. I'm sorry. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the previous item. There were 2 comment cards that were missed. The first we have is Sage Michael, followed by Anthony. I cannot read your last name. You're going to have to say when you get there. That's fine.
Thank you. Yes, I guess I used part of my 2 minutes. Just the process of community input seemed a little stressful. I submitted comment cards to letters, and you all voted on something that I submitted a comment card to. Seemed like that breaks parliamentary process, community input. I just have concern that this whole process, y'all keep saying public and community. I'm very community. I'm very public. We got this agenda 9:58 yesterday. I had to digest a whole lot of information that I just received that changes the governance of Sewage and Water Board, potable water, sanitation, stormwater drainage. When this pump subcommittee was formed, I was hoping that it would be open meetings laws so we could attend. I came here and commented like, what's up with the pumps committee? Are y'all meeting? Are y'all talking? And y'all have been meeting, but it's not open to the public. And then we get a set of ordinance that changed a hell of a lot 24 hours and 2 minutes prior to this meeting, and we have to organize, and y'all say community been involved. I don't see community. Y'all say community is on the pumps committee. Where are they? I've been fighting sewage discharge since December 2025. Thank you, Jason Hughes, for having your staff support me. But I've been working through the current governance and have had success. You know, y'all say community is involved. What other community members you know been fighting hard with, collaborating with city council, collaborating with the community, collaborating with everyone besides me? And you say now that 7 new members are appointed. I was working great with my community district E liaison, Ms. Ariane Greenidge, with advocating against sewage discharge, along with Jason Hughes' office. 7 new members from the community, and I didn't get a call? Who is community? I am community that's been fighting with sewage and water, but you all know it.
Just a point of clarification, just for those watching at home. This is the committee meeting. These ordinances will be considered at the full council meeting next week. So there will be another opportunity for community input. Sage, I didn't reactivate your mic. I'm just making a point.
I do understand.
What you're doing is, let's put the reaction, let's put the vote around, and community is not advocating. Community is not involved. Then it needs to hold sessions on this.
I hear you, but I was simply making everyone aware that if there was confusion and people were not aware of their ability to attend today, there will be another opportunity. These items are all on the regular agenda for next week's council meeting. So there will be another opportunity for a tremendous amount of public input, which I expect there will be throughout this process. So I just want to make that note for the record, Madam Chairwoman.
Mr. Morrell, may I also mention that I know that members of the administration and of this council would be willing to come to any meeting that any member of the public set. There are neighborhood meetings, for example. Special meetings are sometimes set by communities that want to hear or have more input. If you feel that you haven't been, I'm just saying.
I don't think that addresses what Sage's question and issue was, and I appreciate his position insofar as you cannot have items of this magnitude where items get posted that late that don't give people an opportunity to review the items. Now, I hear you, Sage, and I think we need to do better as far as making sure items are on the agenda are posted in a more timely way so the public can have input. I'm just saying in this instance, there will be, so this is a committee meeting, there will be another opportunity to come to the full council meeting, and I expect there will be more community engagement. Anthony, I'm sorry, I cannot, your handwriting is lawyer writing.
That's okay. John Marie.
John Marie, all right. You've got beautiful lawyer handwriting, you're up.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, everyone. I just want to address and say that the men and women of Sewage and Water Board take great pride in what they do on a day-to-day basis. I worked there myself for the past year and a half, left a job in the private sector to join this great organization. My great-grandfather started here as a digger. My grandfather retired here as a laborer. So every day I come here, I bring great dignity to our job, and not just myself, but the men and women who work in networks and drainage and customer service. We all take great pride in our work and understand that we work under great duress, under funding and expectations of an outstanding, and we do an outstanding job every single day. All of our current council members, with respect to all of you, you're legislators. I don't believe anybody up here has an engineering degree or background. You're legislators, and many of you have lawyer backgrounds. And I just want to make sure that this council and our mayor office is very clear, and that they're not suffering from what I would consider called convenient amnesia, realizing that we have century-old infrastructure issues that have to be rectified, and you're expecting a new ED to do that in a matter of months. And not only convenient amnesia, but also selective outrage. I've personally experienced 3 energy power outages in New Orleans East within the past month at my own residency. Now, what can we do? We can shift the focus, not just on our EDs, his salary and the history, but let's pay attention to Swebno's mission statement about funding, and we can also highlight if we're going to pick and choose about salaries and who make what, we can revisit the issue of why do we have 2 police chiefs on our current City of New Orleans salary. We can revisit that, but we want to make sure and ensure that this is not some cross-political modern-day buck-breaking of another highly qualified African-American organizational leader. Can we do better? Yes. Will we do better?
Yes. I have great confidence that our current smart meter process.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jean-Marie. Mr. Jean-Marie, that is your 2 minutes. Let me thank you for being here. Respectfully, since you are a resident of my district, let me set the record straight. Since you brought up the energy power outages, I held Entergy accountable. I have very publicly reported on the Entergy power outages, and I did a follow-up update very publicly yesterday on the Entergy power outages, so let's set the record straight there. Number 2, let me reiterate the opening comments that Council Member McCarran made, and I think she speaks on behalf of all of us. There are some very hard-working women and men within the Sewage and Water Board. This is not an attack on the employees, any employee of Sewage and Water Board, and so I want to be clear about that. What this does today, I can tell you since I've been on the council since January 12, 2026, I get more calls about Sewage and Water Board, quite frankly, than any other department. And I think if you look at the emails, and if you talk to my chief of staff, and if you talk to my constituent services director, and if you talk to any member of my team, we deal with more Sewage and Water Board situations than any other matter, number 1. Number 2, I think this council has had more oversight hearings related to Sewage and Water Board since we got inaugurated, probably than any other subject. Not just regular meetings, but we've often had to call special meetings to go through Sewage and Water Board matters. The bottom line is, right now, the public has an expectation that when they come to their elected officials, that we can solve their problems. And the reality is, right now, in the current structure, outside of billing, we have no authority to solve their problems. And so what this does is, it brings the accountability closer to the people and to their elected representatives. So that when you, Mr. Jean-Marie, like when you called me about Entergy, I didn't just ignore your text messages. I think it's well documented. I communicated very clearly with you, and I sprung into action. This will now give this council the ability, the tools, and the authority to spring into action and to deliver results. I can tell you, to the council president's comments, I'm not looking for another thing to do. We have enough on our, no, we're not going to go back and forth. I have enough on my plate. I think my 6 colleagues has enough on their plate But at the end of the day, this is a direct response to the residents that we serve in the city of New Orleans. So I thank you for your comments. I thank you for being here today. But I want to reiterate to the hard-working women and men of Sewage and Water Board, we thank them for their hard work and for their public service to the city. And we look forward to working in partnership to create a much stronger public utility. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'd like to add something real quick, if you don't mind, Madam Chairwoman. Two things. One, I talked to plenty of people that work at Sewage and Water Board who actually work not in the C-suite, and their frustration is palatable. I appreciate there was necessity to talk about whether we're qualified or not, and we're not engineers. Well, I would point out there are many people in your C-suite making decisions that are engineers as well. Your prior director was an engineer. Your current director is not, correct? So when you talk about whether or not someone's degree at the end says the right things, what we're talking about as a council is having accountability in a system. One of the resolutions today talks about a wage study. Part of the reason why the council is pursuing a wage study is because I firmly believe there are people who work not in the C-suite that are underpaid because they have not had a proper civil service salary study. So what we're looking at is not just who's getting overpaid potentially or consolidating positions in the C-suite. We're trying to look at everybody, because the reality is to get this Sewage and Water Board where it needs to be, we're going to need better pay for people and more opportunities for individuals. So I appreciate your trepidation. I also want to add something, and this is just kind of a commentary that I've seen over the last couple of years. I do not like people who throw rocks and hide hands. Mr. Heyman's sitting right over there. If he wants to defend his job, he can defend it himself. You ain't got to defend it for him. Your words, you said specifically, wait, no, sir. You specifically said about the council attacking African-American leadership. You said that. We're not having a back and forth, sir. My point is, I don't care if the Sewage and Water Board director is purple or green. Either do your job or don't do your job. That is what I'm looking for. And when I hear people come up here and send proxies to try and racialize a person's performance in their position, when you're looking at a super majority black African American council, it is offensive to me. If you are doing a good job, come to the mic and tell us you're doing a good job. Don't go on radio stations. Don't go around the city talking about how this is racist when you're just distracting from the fact that the approval rating of Sewage and Water Board is 14%. If you're the head of a corporation that's failing, you own it.
Try to put a bow on this. What I've been thinking about a lot recently is the current status of affairs. And in many regards, our biggest obstacle is inertia. Inertia, steady state, nothing changes unless something intervenes to spark that change. Currently, what we're seeing with Sewage and Water Board is that even when we don't make substantive changes, things not only stay in a steady state, they get worse. And we talk about funding and the funding needs that we need for our infrastructure throughout the city, including infrastructure tied to Sewage and Water Board. When the state, the federal government, and the city funded the dedicated power station for Sewage and Water Board, we celebrated it. It's supposed to greatly mitigate boil water advisories. We're still having boil water advisories. It's supposed to give us dedicated power to help us get through storms. When it was first put to the test, it failed. And it failed because of a design flaw, whether that was on Sewage and Water Board side or the manufacturer side with that static frequency changer. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Because when we put the money up to better protect us, it didn't perform like it was supposed to perform. And so for me, and probably a lot of people in the general public, it's tough to say, we just need money, because when we come up with the money to do things to add resilience, it still doesn't perform like it's supposed to perform. And so this action that the council has taken today, I think disrupts that inertia that we've been dealing with. And it does come at great risk because it puts the council and the mayor under the spotlight to be responsible for these changes. And it's a change that we are embracing because for the sake of the city's future and future generations, we have to execute. And I'm confident that with all of our stakeholders, with all of the public, with all of the guidance, that we will be able to move the ball forward because we have to for the sake of the city of New Orleans. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you for everybody who showed up today, and thank you guys for your work on this.
You're welcome.
Mr. Tuzzolo.
Just really quickly, sorry, I just want to put a close to this presentation. I know you have a lot of work to do. This ordinance will be considered, as y'all have voted, the council meeting on the 6th. There is that amendment that we helped craft with Ms. Spears. This is not the last time that I expect that an ordinance will be put forward to change some of the framework around this. This is an ongoing process. The Pumps Group will continue to work, and we'll continue to bring these things into the public, to public council meetings. I know that Councilmember Hughes and Councilmember Karen from their committees or any of your committees, we're always happy to present and provide information, provide more updates and reports. I think that's one of the mayor's key initiatives, that we increase the accountability and transparency, that we make sure that everybody is seeing the work we're doing and showing you what we're going to do and doing what we say. So with that, I'm going to, if no one has further questions, I think we are going to just skedaddle here. If there's nothing else. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Council President Morrell, would you like to continue with the resolution, the Sewage and Water Board audit? I think that was our next item.
I think it was pretty straightforward. I mean, essentially all we're doing is trying to get a clean bill of health for Sewage and Water Board, see how money is being expended, how expenditures are being done, and have a third party actually give us an analysis of what the current state of Sewage and Water Board and how it spends money. So that's what the resolution does. If there's no questions, I believe that's actually, nope, there's not on this one. This is the audit, so there's no questions on this item that I see, no cards. So I will move on this item. Second by Councilmember Hughes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. It is approved. All right, next up we have item number 5. Item number 6, I apologize. All right, item number 6, this deals with, let's get to my notes here. This is the motion directing Sewage and Water Board to develop new bylaws, including a review of procurement practices and combine the executive director and superintendent positions. It's alignment with the city. We need to ensure the new board and Sewage and Water Board bylaws reflect a commitment to alignment with the city, including procurement practices to ensure compliance with state and local laws, and the city's commitment to fairness and equity. Restructuring as a city and utility face budget constraints. We're directing the board to look at where we combine positions, specifically at the executive director and general superintendent. I will also add, and this is something that I did not include in here, but I will likely include in an amendment that goes before the full council. I have said repeatedly that there was a time, and I know for a lot of people who lived in the city, you may recall, pre-Katrina, the Sewage and Water Board met in council chambers regularly. And I think that part of the disconnect between the Sewage and Water Board as an organization and its governing board is that in my communications with them over the years, when they were no longer required to meet in chambers, it allows them to be overly dismissive or not account for the plight of actual businesses and residences that are impacted by the activities of Sewage and Water Board. A great example would be the flooding that happened earlier this year in Councilman McCarron's district, or what you saw at Decatur Street, where you had businesses that basically were going out of business because of Sewage and Water Board activity. So I will introduce an amendment on this at the council level. I know, Aaron, we've been working on it to bring Sewage and Water Board back into the chambers at least quarterly so that you can actually see who the board members are and they can hear from you directly rather than simply having the council as your filter towards the Sewage and Water Board. So Aaron and I will work on that between now and the full council meeting. I have a card here from Mr. Randy Heyman on this item, so come on up.
Good morning. I was not planning on speaking, but Councilmember J. Pierre Morel made comments about the other person that spoke and made it appear that I asked someone to speak. I have not asked anyone to speak here on my behalf or on behalf of the Sewage and Water Board. I have not brought up race in any way in any conversation that I have had. So I disagree with what you put out there in public. Also, I want to state that I sent to the board members my background. I am a water professional. I'm a graduate of one of the top high schools in the country, John Burroughs. I'm a graduate of the University of Michigan, received graduate class honors. I'm a graduate of Georgetown Law. I'm a former assistant attorney general for the state of Missouri. I've worked as a partner at the oldest and largest environmental law firm in this country. I have served as the general counsel for the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District 10 years. I was general counsel for DC Water for 5 years. I was a partner at the law firm, and then I was the CEO of Philadelphia Water for 6 years, the 6th largest city in the country, dwarfs what we're doing here in New Orleans. What I learned there was a number of items. There's in a bag of career understanding that I'm bringing to New Orleans. No one can fix this system in just 1 year. And a lot of the things that are here came from the former general superintendent. And so I did not bring all of these issues. I did not make the pipes 100 years old. But what I am bringing to you is a dedication of 25 years as a water professional on national boards, National Association of Clean Water Agencies, on the board for Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies. And so I'm here to do my job. It is hard to do it in 11 months. And at the same time, I've shown success across the country, and I'm respected as a water professional at a national level. I spoke before Congress, and then Biden came and gave us over $300 million in Philadelphia. So I respect you, but at the same time, I did not ask anyone to speak on my behalf. And at the same time, I did not say anything about race in this conversation.
But I appreciate, I would say 3 things. One, you have been in plenty of interviews, including on not so prominent radio stations where they have made very racial accusations against the council that any critique of your position is racially motivated, and you have not corrected those assumptions made about the council, have you not?
Because that's not who I am in my heart.
Okay.
You don't know me from that. I invite you to have lunch with me.
Well, I get asked to have lunch with a lot of people, but I don't have time because I'm doing my job. Second thing I will say is this, and this is real basic. I don't think for a second you are the cause of all the problems at Sewage and Water. The problems that exist there are institutional and predate probably me existing on this earth. When you look at the council's frustration with accountability, it's that when problems occur and we ask for very clear explanations as to what the problem is, why it happened, and why it when it will be solved, we do not get clear answers. So the accountability issues that we have as a council deal a lot with clear communication at that table and at that mic. So if there's any, I want to clear the record. I do not blame you for the current state of Sewage and Water Board. I don't think anyone here can blame any single person for an organization that's over 100 years old that has institutional problems and institutional imbalances that require this level of course correction. What is frustrating, and this is certainly, it's carried over from Mr. Gassan to you, is that when we talk about the fundamental changes that have to happen at that organization and how the council and the mayor and the public need fundamental changes, I will tell you that our impression of Sewage and Water Board has constantly been nothing to see here and move along. We need more money. And
We need to make changes, sir, and I made changes. You said it was a DC and Philadelphia. I understand.
to be very clear, to be very clear, the people of the city, Mr. Heyman, the people of the city do not care what happened at DC and Philadelphia. Because when our homes are flooding, when pump power stations are flipping, when equipment is not being used properly, it does not give us solace that you did a really good job in 2 other cities. And I will tell you, part of my fundamental issue with your position is not you, it's I have been wholly unimpressed with almost every executive director Sewage and Water Board has had. And the position itself is a very expensive position. And as you'll see in another item we're having coming up shortly, we have people at the lowest levels of Sewage and Water Board that are ridiculously underpaid. And when I talk to these people and they look at the people at the highest level and how they're compensated, the question becomes, what are our priorities as a city? Is it making sure that we're appropriately paying the person who's digging the hole to lay the pipes, or are we appropriately paying or compensating the person at the highest level who's at the press conferences? And so that's, when I look at compensation in ordinances like this, it's not about you, it's about what is in the best interest of the Sewage and Water Board as an organization. My response to that gentleman and why you were invoked is that everyone seems to want to talk about everything but the fact that there are institutional changes at Sewage and Water Board that are long overdue. And when people say things like that gentleman said, yelling about how this is racism, that this, I think right now there's one white person, everybody else is black. This racist council is trying to terminate you out of some racial animosity. To be clear, this is asking the board to look at a realignment of 2 positions that exist in Sewage and Water Board that are highly compensated. This is not, there's no racial animus involved in this. This is about money and prioritizing ratepayer dollars. So when it comes to your qualifications and whether you're doing a good job, I will admit publicly, and I'll do it again, you inherited a tremendous amount of problems that previous superintendents had. But I'll make this comment about you and about the board as a whole. I don't know what's in the water at Sewage and Water Board, but every time someone enters that organization, it's always about, you don't see what a great job we're doing, we just need more money. And I can tell you, as a millage is going to pop up on the ballots next year to possibly fund, or if it fails, blow up the Sewage and Water Board, we have to change the trajectory of public perception of your organization. Because I will tell you, no matter what you and I both say right now, the numbers don't lie. The numbers say that it will be very challenging under the current structure with the current board to get any public buy-in about the future of Sewage and Water Board.
And I agree, James, and I believe that I'm the right person to do it because I've done it before successfully. The fact that I have knowledge and experience that will benefit us. I have experience that I can use. Now, when you talk about the issue of race, again, I did not bring that into the conversation. I would have preferred if you did not bring me into the last conversation with the other gentleman. I did not ask him to speak. I have not brought up race. And if someone brings it up on a radio station, I am not the radio person. I am there as a guest talking, and I talk for myself. Now, also, too, when I speak at this table, I may not say what you want to hear, but I give you the facts as I know them. I'm trained to do that. I'm a former assistant attorney general. I'm a former partner in a major firm. I am bringing the facts as I know them. But here's the situation we have. In the water utility world, sometimes we don't have the money we need to address a certain issue, or the situation is very complex and needs more time for us to review it. And so I may not be able to give you the answer you want just at a snap right here. But one thing I do promise you, that will always, I believe every answer deserves an intelligent response, be it the city council or the individual on the street. And I promise you that if I don't have the answer here, I'll do my best to bring you back to you or email to you a clear answer. But there are times we don't have the answer at the very moment that you're asking for, and I ask that is sometimes respected. I understand our system is down. Across the country, it's going to cost over $2 trillion to fix our water system across the whole United States. Philadelphia had issues, but yet you're right, they had funding to face it. So funding is a major part of what we have to do. Now let me tell you one thing very quickly. Number one, S&P, Standard & Poor's, came and evaluated us. As you know, they lowered our bond rating. But the one thing they said afterwards, in writing, in their report, is while there are some negative things happening, I'm paraphrasing, we have confidence because your former executive director has been successful in assisting financially distressed communities in the past. Because they know what I did for 26 years. I don't go for a bond rating just once. I've done it for 26 years. For S&P to say that, I couldn't pay them $1 million to give me that type of a pat on the back. But I know what I'm doing, I'm good at what I'm doing, and I want to do it here in New Orleans, but I need more than 11 months to do it.
I have a question.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, is Mr. Heyman's, because I've been hearing this for a long time, is Mr. Heyman's job up for termination?
What is being considered in this item is having Sewage and Water Board look at the positions of Executive Director and General Superintendent and whether or not to combine them. Because the reality is they are two positions that if we are looking towards a model where we are going to fold in Sewage and Water Board, practically speaking, as a department of the City of New Orleans, we don't have $500,000 executive directors and general superintendents of departments within the city. What it does is it tells Sewage and Water Board, the board that will be constituted in August, to look at that and see if that's an efficiency that's worthy of pursuing. As we are making the case going into next year to have ratepayers vote on things like millages and say whether or not we should pay more money in taxes and look at outcomes, we have to be stewards of their dollars. So whether or not Mr. Heyman and whether or not Caitlin, I don't know Caitlin's last name. I saw it was Caitlin. Turner. Whether or not they have separate jobs, have one job, whether they're competing for the future job, I don't know. That's something that the board is going to decide based on this resolution. But I'll be very candid. Like I said, I think that if Standard & Poor's said something like that, and I do not doubt they did.
I'll give you a copy of it today.
I'm saying I do not doubt they did. I think that is a tremendous thing to put on a resume. What I will say from my perspective as someone who represents the people of the city, who looks at the crises we faced in this year under your watch, there is a fundamental concern that there has been a lack of transparency on what has occurred. I will tell you that, and I've said this when you've made your comments at the table, you give great lawyer answers. I'm a lawyer. There are lawyers up here. We know what a lawyer answer sounds like. A lawyer answer, when you're looking at whether or not people's homes are going to flood, whether or not they feel safe, lawyer answers do not bring comfort. I don't look when you're.
That's not what I'm known for, son. I'm known as a good public servant.
Let me finish. You indicated you don't give us the answers we want to hear. I'm not looking for a specific answer. I'm looking for a clear answer to a question. When I ask things like, for example, who made the determination to install the trip switch on the power station that we paid tens of millions of dollars for that make it unreliable to this date? Who made that decision? And was it Sewage and Water Board? Which if it wasn't even you, it was the prior Sewage and Water Board. Whether it was Sewage and Water Board, whether it was the contractor, who was it? What we want is an answer.
And if I know it at that time, I will give it to you. But if I don't know at that time...
Mr. Heyman, we are in the end of July. That power switch situation happened, how long ago was Ms. Spears? Happened over a month ago. The fact that you don't have an answer looking at the construction docs as to who signed off on it, that is problematic. I don't know who in your organization is responsible for approving those documents or reviewing them, but...
Well, the engineering side is the general superintendent.
Okay. Caitlin should know that answer. And the answer should have been quick to be provided. And that meeting where we brought that up was over a week ago, and I don't have that answer. When I'm asking answers to questions, I am not looking for a specific answer. We're looking for a clear answer. When we're talking about accountability, the reality is, as many members have said, we have a responsibility as a city to appropriately fund sewage and water board. Something I offered 4 years ago to Executive Director Gassan was that if you want to go through a docket like every other utility, where you open your books and make the justification as to whether a rate increase is necessary and why, I offered that to Sewage and Water Board 4 years ago. We offered Representative Hilford and I 4 years ago to treat Sewage and Water Board like any other utility, and they declined because they didn't want to open their books. They didn't want to justify rates. They just wanted to say, give us more money. And the challenge you've inherited, and I admit you inherited, is that you have a board that doesn't believe they have to be accountable to the public. What you inherited is the bad will people had that when this city council said the bills are off by thousands of dollars, the board said, hold our beer, don't worry about it. And when I offered to work with that board to solve billing, they chose violence and lost. So you have inherited quite a bit of problems, and I am not trying to put those inherited problems on you, but clear communication is not an old problem, that's a new problem, and that is your problem. And what I would appreciate is when we ask a question, we're not looking for a specific answer, we just want a clear answer, because I will tell you the people of New Orleans are some of the warmest and most forgiving people on earth, and if somebody makes a mistake and they're clear and accountable with that mistake, the city is impressive in that it will embrace you and will lift you up. When I see things, and I know this, I communicated with y'all previously, where when that flooding occurred and I saw stuff in there about catch bases were an issue, and I talked to residents who took the effort in Pritchford to clear their catch basins, and there wasn't a clear connection between the two, that undermines public confidence. So I would encourage you in the time we have going forward to be as clear and concise. And when you don't have an answer, say, I don't know, or so-and-so should know, and give me a timeline as to when you're going to prepare that answer. Because I'll tell you, and Aaron, you weren't here for that, when did the power trip happen again? I know you probably know this offhand.
I believe it was June 18th.
June 18th. The power trip was June 18th? It was much further away than that.
Well, there was the situation in May as well.
Okay, there you go. When these things occur, we need to know who was responsible and how it will be fixed. The fact that the last time we talked about the power trip, we didn't have a clear timeline as to when it would be repaired and who was ultimately accountable. And every time we have that interaction, it undermines public confidence. So clear communication will be helpful. And I would encourage you, if you don't want criticism of your position to be racially polarized, when people who interview you interject it, you should correct them. Because I'll tell you, as someone who does a lot of interviews.
No, sir, I've often, because I know I have. Because I know in particular, a situation was brought up and I said, no, I don't believe that, or no, I would not put it that way.
Okay.
So I do the best I can. I'm responsible for Randy Heyman. I can't control what other people say. And I have never interjected race. It's not necessary for me. I state what I do and what my history is.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I have a question, Mr. Heyman. Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I appreciate you laying out your credentials and what you said earlier. Do you believe that you've been given any idea that your job is that you are being terminated?
From the comments made by Councilmember Morrell, it is floating out there, which undermines me in my daily activities as a leader in the organization. If you think about it, if you're thinking that the boss is on weak legs or the boss is less than qualified, you're going to look at that person differently. And so, as I said, my record shows that I'm able to do the job and have done the job. I'll put something else on the table, too. Because of my reputation, I talked about S&P, but let me talk about EPA for a quick moment. When we had the break in the pipe at the industrial canal, I called the higher-ups at EPA. And they were aware of the issue we were working on, and they were willing to talk to us about the possibility of additional funding to address that and to talk with us about what the next steps are. You don't get that when you're just executive director number 102 or 105 in the country. Because they know me and respect me, people are willing to have those conversations with me. People on these different boards at a national level that I sit on are willing to share information with me when the doors are shut that you don't get if you're not part of that. And so, again, I just want to say that my background speaks for itself. I want to take those skills and use them here. I have never brought in race. It's not necessary for me to bring in race. I'm a highly successful, educated man who has done a good job across the country.
So I appreciate that. Who determines the new leadership of the board?
Well, that would be, I believe, with the new amendment, I believe it would be the board itself, but it would come back to the city council for vetting.
So if the new board, I just want to clear the air for myself and other people. If the new board determines the new director, how is, I'm not being facetious, how is Councilman Morrell's comments undermining you? Because he doesn't determine the new board director, the new director of Sewage and Water Board.
Well, the comments make it sound as if I'm unqualified for the position. And so that is undermining in of itself for it to be repeatedly put out there. And so I'm just saying, with the press release that I gave, that my background speaks for itself, and I would leave it at that. But the board, the council will ultimately make a decision.
Okay, well, let me just make my records clear, my comments clear for the record. I know your history, impeccable history. I'm not advocating for anyone to keep or lose their job. I think a lot more has to be done and a lot more has to be looked at. And I will say, whoever is the leader of this organization, it's a tough job. It's a job that a lot of people aren't qualified for because they don't have the credentials or the history. And it's a tough job that a lot of people don't want because of the nature of the job. We have pipes that are over 100 years old. We have streets that are very old, and we have a lack of funding. And those ingredients don't make this job the most sought after job. So when we as a collectively, as a community, determine who needs to be the new director, we need to keep that in mind and realize whoever the person is, whoever moving forward, needs something that I don't think is given a lot in society anymore as a whole is grace. Folks are going to make mistakes. Folks are going to have shortcomings, but to try to vilify somebody, I'm not accusing anybody of doing that, it makes the next person say, I don't want to touch that job. I don't want to go there. So whoever that person will be, I'm not sure who it is moving forward. I just hope that they're given the grace that we all want. And we just keep everything on a professional level in this council chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember King. I just want to say one thing, and then Councilmember Green has a comment. I think, in the beginning, the reason why I stated in my opening comments is that this legislation is not a punishment or an indictment of any one person or policy. This was not made overnight. This is, and it's not going to change overnight. And we need partners with Sewage and Water Board to help us with this, because we recognize that there are no engineers on here. We don't know the operations, but that is the purpose of this legislation and the next step, so we can understand and we can assist, because the ultimate goal of this is to make residents have a better quality of life. That's the goal. And that's the goal of Sewage and Water Board, and that's the goal of this council. That's what we were elected to do, and that is what we are trying to do with this legislation. So with that, I'll let Councilmember Green make some comments, and then I'd like to continue going through the remaining legislation.
I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you for applying when you saw the opportunity when a national search was being conducted for an executive director. You certainly did research, and you knew how difficult the situation is here in our city, a city that is below sea level, a city that has pipes that are 100-year-olds, a city that, unfortunately, some decisions in the past have contributed negatively, such as filling in canals which were built for a reason. The bottom line is that there are so many challenges of your job that I am appreciative of the fact that you took the time to apply. But let me make it clear that we focus a lot on Orleans Parish. The flooding that took place in St. Tammany Parish and in Jefferson Parish recently just lets everyone know that it is a difficult job to stop flooding. we didn't have as much flooding as there was, and to all of those who were subject to street flooding, and if it got into your house, I express my regrets. But when I look at the amount of flooding that took place in Jefferson and St. Tammany Parish relative to us, and we're below sea level, I recognize how difficult a job it is. I also will put on the table the fact that in Jefferson Parish, voters voted to increase rates for the next 20 years to raise $2 billion, and that's not enough to meet the needs according to what has been written. So it's a very complex job, and it's our job to work with you. We certainly as a city council are going to take a proactive role in making sure that the Sewage and Water Board is operated according to some of the successes that we've had in the city. But I'm just appreciative of the fact that you applied. There's not going to be a vindictive attempt to address your job. It's going to be a professional manner as far as I'm concerned, and I heard Councilman King, and I think that other members of the council feel that same way. But it's up to us to all work together because this is a tremendous concern for the city. But I do want to say once again, there are problems with flooding that are regional, and I need the support of the state to look at some of the regional concerns. When I look at the St. Tammany Parish and the fact that many houses have raw sewage going into ditches behind their house, when I look at the flooding that took place along major thoroughfares in Jefferson Parish, West Bank and East Bank recently, I just recognize that there's some regional issues. We have to all learn to live with water better, but we also need to work together, and I think that we're moving in a direction with this legislation. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilmember Green.
I want to add something real quick, just because, and this is kind of a finer point, and I think this might be, I was talking with Councilmember Willer just now, and I think this might be fundamentally, I think, part of why there's a disconnect between just Sewage and Water Board leadership historically and the council historically. There is a reticence at Sewage and Water Board to ever say this was our fault.
Sir, listen, that's not me. That is not me. That's how I grow. That's how I was able to go across the country. I'm able to admit when I'm wrong.
Mr. Heyman, if you would just let...
My point being that when we had things happen like the multiple floods uptown, when we had the switch happening at the power station, when we had the error with the pump operator messing up, there's not enough in this society as a whole of people saying, this clearly was our fault. This is how this happened. This is how we'll prevent it in the future. That is not necessary. I'm saying that this organization has a problem with that. Historically, I mean, going back as far as I can remember, I mean, I have to go far back, probably to pre-Katrina, of something happened in Sewage and Water Board saying, this was our fault, this was a mistake, here's how we're going to correct it. And I think it's indicative of the way a lot of organizations try to escape what they perceive as liability, because we're lawyers, we have lawyer brains. And sometimes you don't want to say that because you feel like if I say that, then the class action suit comes faster. That being said, you have to find, as a leader of an organization that has this many problems, a way for you to do that.
I respect that.
Just because I think that if, as an organization, you could find a way to do that when the problems occur, identify the problem, because regardless of what happens at Sewage and Water Board, as the executive director, you're responsible no matter what. Floats uphill. So I think whatever happens, I think as an organization, part of rebuilding public trust is when the problems occur, owning the problem, explaining the problem, expressing a clear action item towards a solution. That would go a tremendous way to rebuilding public confidence, because people are scared in their homes. And part of what we deal with as a council, and part of the reason why we decided to take this unprecedented step, is that we're getting all the calls. We're trying to assure individuals and businesses to continue to locate and live in the city of New Orleans, to raise their families here. I cannot tell you how many times I've got a panicked call from business owners and conventions, the convention center, when this has actually not really happened on your watch, but happened previously, when you would have a boil water advisory when conventions were in the city, you pretty much assured that convention never came back. And anything that we can do to help you as an organization own the mistakes and move past them, we can collectively do a better job of that, because no one wants to hear just the excuse. And people get very frustrated by that. And I think we can both work together to do a better job of, when you're communicating down there, trying to figure out how we get to that point. Because when we leave a meeting and the issue is unresolved in a definitive way, you just make those fears worse.
I respect what you're saying, and we will work harder to address that. Thank you.
Okay,
I do want to.
we still have to vote on item number 6. Do we have any additional public comment?
We do.
Okay.
Actually, council members, we need to vote on items 5 and 6.
I thought we did 5.
We didn't vote on 5. For the record, I will move on 5. Second. Thank you. I'll move on 5, second by Councilor Hughes. That is the legislative auditor review. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5 yeas, 6 yeas, no nays. Might be voted on twice, but it's voted on. On 6, Sage Michael, you're up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Randy, thank you for coming to Dwyer Road during the sewer discharges and actually seeing the issues I've been dealing with. I invited all city council members to do the same, to actually see my advocacy and the issues I was dealing with. But thank you, Mr. Randy, and your team for coming out. You actually was on the ground seeing the sewers that I was really much on a solo man mission fighting. But we're not talking about that today, but we still have issues, but we're not talking about that. I do agree with J.P. Morrell. Pay the people who are digging the holes, who are connecting the pipes, who are in the ground, who are operating the pumps, who are doing these long hours. I know some of them, I know they need to get paid. I'm a worker. I do enough sewage and water board work that people tell me I should get a check, right? I think as you consider this consolidation, it's a great consideration. If we could save money, then we could save money, and we all know that that's the ultimate goal. But we also don't want to lose institutional knowledge. An executive director and a general superintendent, they both come from 2 different backgrounds. So what I'm saying is that as we review this, just know that these are 2 distinctly separate roles, and consolidating on what, someone going to get more money on one, we working more with less. But I also see a conflict of interest having one person on a pumps committee that could potentially be a beneficiary of this arrangement. And I would say that with that already being said, and they're involved in these pumps committees, that you should make a rule that both people will be fired or suspended, and that an intern be placed. That way that the general superintendent is not just like pointing themselves up for a potential job. I know it's under review, but I would rather that both people be removed and the intern be placed. Thank you.
Real quick, one housekeeping matter. There is a error on me in the motion that deals where Sewage and Water Board, where the Civil Service Commissioner directed to conduct a review of Sewage and Water Board unclassified employees. They used to be changed to classified. That'll be done at the whole council. That's just an error.
Council member, that's the next agenda item.
We're on 6.
We're on number 6.
This is 6. Civil Service review.
No, that you. The current agenda item is on the Sewage and Water Board bylaws.
Sorry. Thank you. I will move. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a question about number 6. Does this motion require the board to combine the executive director?
No. Requires them to look at it.
All right, I want us to look at the wording, because the wording is important. This says it will consider a motion directing the Sewage and Water Board to develop the bylaws, including a review of procurement practice and combining. So we're not saying that we're directing them to combine.
It says consider.
Council member, that word review is doing a lot of work in that clause. It's a review of both.
That's fine. I just want to make sure, especially for the public's sake. Okay. I am an aye.
I'll move to vote.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hughes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, let's move to full council. Now seven.
All right, agenda item number 7, civil service review. Council President Morrell is recognized.
Thank you. All right, so this is the item where we have an issue where there has to be a couple of amendments. The language where it says it be moved by the City of New Orleans, Civil Service Commission is directed to conduct a review of Sewage and Water Board unclassified employees. The Civil Service Commission cannot do studies of unclassified employees to begin with. That will be corrected at the full council. As you know, if you don't know, the City of New Orleans City Council is very unusual in that in our committees, we cannot actually amend bills, which is bizarre, nor can we kill bills in committee. So this will have to be addressed at the full council. The intent of this is to empower civil service to do a review of all of these civil service employees. Any reference to uncompensated individuals will be unclassified individuals will be taken out of this ordinance because they don't have authority over them to begin with. So, thank you. Kim Robinson, come on up.
Good morning, Council. Thanks for explaining that, JP. So my question probably should be for next week, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Good morning, the members of the Council. My name is Kim Robinson, and I stand before you today as a sewage and water employee and a constituent of New Orleans in District B. As we move forward with this oversight, the Budget Authority, I'm just concerned about the employees and, our health care and some clear understanding of, the affordability and the sustainability, and will it be, not interrupted. We deserve a clear understanding of that. So is anybody able to answer that throughout this transition?
Nothing that we're considering right now interrupts any of the existing benefits or anything that you have. You're all civil service employees. Right. You're all classified. Y'all have those protections in place. Simply what we're doing is telling them to do a study looking at the wages you're currently paid and whether or not those wages are appropriate. Right. And to look at potentially, the reality is that obviously the city as a whole, our region is struggling with tax issues and revenue issues. And that's certainly something the civil service is very cognizant of, but as of today, what we're considering does not deal with affecting anything you currently have.
Right, so come November when it's time to enroll after August 1st, we don't know yet.
Well, I would say that as the City of New Orleans, we're all negotiating our health care through November 1st anyway to make sure that whatever agency is doing it, we get the best deal for the best buck. So I'm sure Sewage and Water Board has a parallel track. Well, they're still doing that as well, but I would assume enrollment's going to be as normal.
Right, so y'all with the new budget, that has nothing to do with the medical?
It's separate, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Robinson, if I can, if you don't mind, Mr. President, I want to alleviate any fears that the employees may have.
It's just a concern.
No, and look, I appreciate you being here asking a very relevant question, but I just want to alleviate any concerns that current employees have about health care benefits and benefits in general. I think if you look at the background of this council, myself and all of my colleagues, I can say very confidently we are committed to ensuring that our employees throughout city government, including Sewage and Water Board, retains their health care benefits and retains their benefits. So that we're not looking to do away with that at all.
Okay, thanks for this meeting. I'm glad I was here because I got clear understanding of some other things as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you, guys. Maybe I can come next week for the full community, because community definitely needs to be here with these meetings. Thank you.
I will move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. I think it's the last item, right?
This was the last item, but Sage, I noticed you put in the comment card for agenda item number 8. We actually took that up first before you got here, but look, since you're here, we'll go ahead and let you comment.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on that. I just needed clarification on the bond project list. Thankful for, I saw Lincoln Beach Phase 2 is still on there. We're looking forward to that. That's a long time coming. Thank y'all for that. But previously, when we voted on the bond list, there was a citywide water study on there as well. I communicated with Megan Williams, the Chief Resilience Officer, to get clarification on that. She said that would be done citywide, and 2 water studies will be done in New Orleans East. And so I'm an employee of Healthy Gulf. We've been working on New Orleans Community Water Plan. You can go to watersbyou.org. You can see the first version of this water plan that we've been doing, because there have been bond-funded water studies, but none have been done east of the Industrial Canal. You look on ORS website right now, you have water studies done in Broadmoor, Lakeview, Gentilly Resilience District. None of those bond-funded things have come to New Orleans East to avoid our risk, and we flooded just like everyone else. We pay for back those bond funds for everyone else. But why is that we paying for bond funds for Lakeview, for Broadmoor, and we don't have not one water study east of the Industrial Canal? But I've been partnering with partners, diverse partners like Song CDC and things like that, with Water Leaders Institute, even with bringing up pilot projects like transforming canals coming from the Greater New Orleans Urban Water Plan. I presented to Wagon and Ball. I presented these things. I've been putting in the work. We have these projects out. We need this investment in District E. It is not fair to us. This disparity must be addressed. So I'm just requesting that the project list, that water study, it must be applied to the work that I'm already doing as a community member, bringing forth H&H studies to lower our risk of flooding, to lower our risk of climate, to lower our insurance rates. And I just need clarity on it, and I didn't see that on the project list. Please, we need funding to avoid flooding in District E, east of the Dust.
Thank you, Sage. Points well taken, and I will certainly work with you, as I always do, to try to get some clarity on that. With that, ladies and gentlemen of the public, thank you all for being here today. Council Member McCarron, thank you for your partnership in leading this meeting. To all of the amazing staff, thank you all for your hard work. Thank you to the administration for your partnership. To my colleagues, thank you all for your hard work. If I didn't thank anybody who I may have missed, thank you to anybody I may have missed. Erin, a particular thank you to you. Put you in the staff bucket, but particular thank you to you. And with that, thank you all. Councilmember Green moves that we adjourn. Second by Councilmember King. We stand adjourned. Thank you all.